Hey guys, just want to do a video like I told some of you that I would do last week and then didn't do it. So been busy, but just in regards to how I do my water. If you don't already know, I live in Western Montana and on a friend's property. And I have about 100 foot of hose that I run from the frost valve on his property that's connected to the well to my trailer. And of course that you need to prepare that from freezing during the winter months. So I'll start by showing you the materials that I use and kind of how I ran it and stuff. So this is what I use, and I run this parallel to the hose, first of all. And basically the picture shows that, you should wrap it with zip ties and stuff. I'll show you in a minute how I did it, but this stuff protects up to, if you look closely, it says negative 40 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that equates to in Fahrenheit, like negative 20. But anyway, has worked very, very well for me the last 2 winters. I did initially have problems with the I installed it wrong last year, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So, but yeah, that's it. It's heated, got on Amazon. This is 120 feet, so just overseeded what I need and get it in different lengths. I think this was 50 or 60 bucks, so not too bad. And anyway, I'll move over and show you the process and how I did it. Hey, here we go. So we look at this. This is one of the other things you're going to need. This is just foil tape. Works extremely well. It's relatively inexpensive, although if you have to get a lot of it, it can add up pretty quick. I think each roll is about 6 or 8 bucks, but should be plenty. I did, if you can see my hose here, running along this little pump house I made, and then go back to the trailer here. But little notch out there as I cut that plowing. But anyways, so actually I'll just use this to show you guys what I did here. So if we come in, and I'm not going to unwrap this foil tape, but take your hose, and I used drinking water hose. I recommend using that because you don't taste the rubber and smell the rubber. But anyway, so you take your heat tape, like I talked about, and if you look closely here, you can see that. But I just run that vertically along. I don't try to wrap the hose with it or anything, but I run that vertically along the hose, and then we wrap the hose and the heat tape together with this foil tape, and that's down the whole length of the hose. And this foil tape keeps that heat tape on there, so you're just going to do that. This right here, of course, is, if you don't already know, is just insulation, just hose insulation, pipe insulation. You can get it at any hardware store. Previously I ordered it in a big roll last year, and because I had some problems with the heat tape, which I'll explain in a minute, I had to take it all apart, and it was a pain. So this year I just elected to get the 6 foot lengths and split down the middle. I think price wise they're about $1.50 a pop, so not that much money. Should be more than enough to do what you need to do. So yeah, you just wrap that, and then every length I wrap a little bit of Gorilla Tape, because that's the best, and then zip ties at the connection, I guess, of the insulation, pipe insulation. So that's how I did that, and I'll move over and show you the connections. So here we are, my pump house here, and that I made. And don't judge me based on how it looks, just need it to work. So I put a blanket over this. It got really cold here the last couple weeks, but I usually have that all wrapped up, but I had to access the water for watering horses and stuff a while back, so I just took it all apart. But anyway, when you look at this, you can see the heat tape is ran up, and what I did is I ran heat tape spiral around the spigot all the way up and then down the spout, and that's connecting the hose in here. And then I just have the hose underneath the pump house, whatever. And then of course ran all the way over to the trailer. So coming back and looking at this, it's pretty simple. Just zip tied all the way up, just keep it nice and warm. Again, like I said, I use this blanket here just to keep it extra warm for those really cold nights. We don't want that spigot to freeze. That's really kind of a huge expense if that happens. And you can thaw it out. That did happen to me last winter. I put a little drop heater in here. It did freeze up because the heat tape failed, and I'll tell you why in a second. But yeah, just used a heater in here during the day, and it thawed it all up just fine. I didn't have any problems, thank goodness, because it's not actually mine. So if you look, you can see that is the heat tape plugged in there. So if we look around here, so what the heat tape instructions say, and I didn't read last time, this is the thermostat. You want to keep this as close to the ground as possible, so it can read the temperature. Well, last winter, I had this actually ran at connections at the trailer, and it's warmer where the connections are, so it wasn't getting an accurate reading on the thermostat, and the heat tape ended up failing for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but it didn't. I couldn't get it to work. So I'd take apart the whole 100 feet of hose, and I was without water for about 3 weeks. I sent it back to heat tape. They actually took care of me. And I didn't realize initially that was a problem. I thought it just failed. And then when I got the packaging back, I realized, oh, I put it running wrong. So it was good on them for replacing it. I was just out water for a while, which was frustrating. But that being said, that's what you do. You put it nearest the ground. They say on the ground, but this has been fine. And that we're on March now, so no issues with the water at all this year. There's a couple things I'll explain in just a second, but yeah, that's how you do that. And then we'll go up to the trailer and show you those connections. All right, so here we are at the connections at the trailer. This is the hose connection right now. It's a balmy 60 degrees in here. The sun's on it. This is north facing. Pull this up. So as you can see, I got my hose connection, foil tape like we talked about. This is not a fifth wheel. A lot of fifth wheels have this connection where it's built into the trailer. This is why, one of the reasons I purchased this model is because it's Grand Designs and it has a connection on the inside, so it's better insulated. But at any rate, so like I said, foil tape. This is your heat tape coming up. I just wrapped this around here. You can see I zip tied it. Pretty simple construction. And then it got real cold, so I just put this over it just to kind of insulate it a little bit more. But normally you wouldn't need that. This is going to radiate heat from inside the trailer because this is storage just above my just below my bedroom actually. So that's how that works. Pretty simple construction. I have never had an issue with this leaking or breaking or anything in 2 winters. So again, so just to reiterate, get your hose, get hose that's drinking hose, because once you do this, it's really a pain to redo it. And then I make sure I have a screen up here. A lot of people put inline filters. I'm pulling out of a well. If you're a Gessler City, you maybe want to filter. I have no issues with water contaminants or anything like that. Not that I've tested it, but I mean, I'm in Montana, so the water is really good here. And then, so I have a little screen in there just to protect from sand, which I do clean out once in a while, probably every couple months. And then, so you got your hose and then your heat tape, just like I said, run that along the hose, parallel to the hose, and then get your foil tape and wrap that around all the way the length of the hose. It does take some time. It took me about an hour and a half to do 100 feet. So if you got a lot of hose like I do, then I'm sure it's going to take you some time. And then and then get your, can't see it here, all this stuff, the pipe insulation, just make sure it's big enough to go around everything. And then just, you can choose to wrap this with duct tape or roll tape the whole way. I did that last year and that was a huge pain. I'll never do that again. I just did it every connection and zip tied each connection so it doesn't move, and that worked extremely well. As you can see earlier, there was a cut in the line. It still didn't freeze it from me plowing over it, which was stupid. But anyway, yeah, that's how I did that. So to touch on some things that I think people should know regarding water, is that especially if you're in a really cold area, I've seen some people doing this in Alaska, you know, Minnesota, North, you know, Wisconsin, whatever, Michigan, and wherever where it's cold, it gets to negative temperatures. The thing is you're probably never going to insulate, in my opinion, the underneath of the trailer enough to keep the water lines freezing. Now, if you look behind me, it is skirted. So, I mean, yeah. So it is skirted, and I have, that's OSB. I'll do another video on that, but that's OSB with insulation. I tacked to it on the inside, so works pretty well. And to about probably single digit temperatures, and then below that I start having issues. So what I do to keep my water from freezing, pretty age-old concept, is just keep a drip running on the sink, hot and cold. And the reason I do hot and cold is because of the water heater. I want that water heater to keep kind of running and, you know, circulating. Yeah, it sucks because, you know, you're essentially losing water, but it's just a drip. We're not talking about, you know, being full on. And I usually only do it at night when it's real cold. During the daytime, we did have some really cold temperatures a couple weeks ago in February, where it was, you know, highs were like 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So it certainly did get cold. But at any rate, I just kept that drip going on those days, and it was fine. So I have had it freeze in the past. These newer rigs have PEX piping. They stretch a little bit. As long as you get to it fairly quickly, you shouldn't have any issues. So I think I've had my pipes actually freeze about 10 times since I've been doing this. And it's got a heated underbelly, meaning that's ducted through the furnace. And it's a fully enclosed underbelly as well, where all the water lines are. However, I run a wood stove, so it's not ducted through the wood stove to the underbelly. So just keep in mind, if you're doing that, that's not going to work. So what I do is at night, I actually turn my furnace way down, and my furnace usually kicks on before I stoke the stove anyway, because it just, you know, it gets too cool in the trailer, so it kicks on about 55, and so that usually heats up those lines. In the morning, even though the stove's going, I just kick that furnace on and cranked up to like 60 or 80, and these are on the really cold days, so just whatever the thermostat you want it to be, but I recommend 60, 70, 80, whatever, and that pushes all that hot air down those lines, keep those warm. If you got somebody there during the day all day, you're probably not going to have an issue, but I have to work, so I'm gone a lot. But those are the things that I pretty much do to keep my lines from freezing. And I'll be honest with you, no matter what you do, it's probably still going to happen. And there's certainly steps that you can take to make that work. I have not, since I fixed the hose I showed you, have not had an issue with that freezing one time. Short of the power going out, which has happened, because we get some pretty high winds. Sometimes we get down power lines. That, you know, that sucks, because if that freezes, and that takes about 24 hours for that to thaw back up. So if your power goes out, then that's the one issue you might have. But other than that, I think that's about everything I can think of. If you guys have questions, always shoot me a comment. I do my best to get back to you. And I'll show you this beautiful day we're having real quick. It is 50s here. We're March, what was it, 4th? So this is my view every day. It's we're on about 10 acres here, so this is my buddy's house. This is kind of where we do it all. But yeah, so if you guys have questions, give me a shout. Really appreciate you watching. Have a great day.